The thirst that from the soul doth rise, doth ask a drink divine. Welcome to Eviliv3, a celebration of my favorite tabletop role-playing games. This is a sister channel to Eviliv3. Subscribe if you're new to the channel because today we're beginning our How to Play Vampire the Masquerade V5 series with this episode, Storyteller System's Basic Rules. At its core, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, or V5, is a horror-based storytelling game, not an action-packed monster-smashing romp like Dungeons & Dragons. In fact, the name of the game system itself is the Storyteller System. The rules for Vampire the Masquerade are categorized in the following way: basic rules, character rules, clan rules, and discipline rules. There are advanced modular rules which are optional, but they'll be addressed in a future episode. The concept of this being a narrative-based game is baked into its design, from the individual running the game being called the storyteller and the characters they control being called the storyteller-played characters, or SPCs, to the vernacular used to reference time. For example, a moment of interaction is called a scene, an adventure is called a story, and a campaign is called a chronicle. Time itself is abstract, as are the details of the scene. You will not be using character tokens or a virtual tabletop or VTT in a battle map. Instead, this harkens back to the old school gaming technique of theater of the mind, and the system pays this framing off in its mechanics. From time to time, simply describing what you want to do isn't enough. There may be external forces that provide complications based on your action. In these cases, your actions are resolved with the rolling of dice. The dice used in V5 are all D10 or 10-sided dice, and you collect a number of them into what's called a dice pool based on 2 traits used in the action. This may leave you traditionally with anywhere from 1 to 10 dice in your dice pool. The basic mechanic is that any dice rolled showing a 6 or better is a success, and the number of successes determines the outcome of an action. There are 2 basic methods of resolution in V5, a simple test and a contest. The process of a simple test is as follows. The player describes what they want to do, the storyteller tells the player which traits will be used to form their die pool, the storyteller then decides the difficulty of the action, and the player needs that many successes or more from rolling their die pool. There may be a simple check which requires only a single dice roll, looking for a single success. This is traditionally only used to determine hunger gain. So now that we understand how the dice work and the basics of a simple test, what are the traits, and how does the storyteller decide which 2 should be referenced? Traits are what define a character. They are comprised of attributes which define a character's innate and potential abilities like strength, charisma, or intelligence, and skills, how characters most reliably apply the attribute's potential, like athletics, intimidation, and investigation. There are also disciplines, advantages, and flaws which may be used, but the bottom line is that any 2 traits used are contextually relevant to the actions described. So if the character is canvassing a neighborhood for information, they may use resolve plus investigation. Or if they're researching an occult topic, they may use intelligence plus occult. If a character has specialty in a skill, they gain an extra dice in the roll. How does the storyteller decide the difficulty of an action? The difficulty is based on the action itself. Is it routine? Then you only need 1 success. If it's moderate, you may need 3 successes. And if it's very hard, you may need 6 or more successes. There may be external modifiers the storyteller applies, and there may be opposition by an SPC. If there is opposition, it would become a contest, which we will cover shortly. If the character's die pool is twice the task's difficulty, it's an automatic win. No dice need to be rolled. The margin of success in an action is determined by the number of dice rolled showing 6 or more over the difficulty number. So, if the difficulty number was 3 and you rolled 5 successes, 5 dice showing 6 or higher, the margin of success is 2. This margin will come into play in contests and describing the outcome of actions. Rolling 2 10s in your die pool equals a critical success and adds 2 more successes. This happens in pairs, and you may roll multiple critical successes. At times, you may roll some successes, but not enough to meet or exceed the difficulty number. In that case, you may be offered the win at a cost option. It means you achieve your goal, but something happens to make things worse for you. You may also achieve 0 successes, making a total failure. In this situation, something of dire consequence occurs. You may use teamwork to overcome certain actions as well. In this case, you'd roll the largest of the character's die pools and add 1 die for each player assisting. You may also spend 1 willpower to re-roll up to 3 regular dice on any 1 skill or attribute roll. The second method of resolution is the contest. This is between 2 or more individuals, like combat or manipulation, for example. Contests are resolved the same way as tests. You tell the storyteller what you want to do. They determine your traits to use for your die pool. The storyteller then determines the opposer's traits and die pool. You both roll. If you meet or exceed your opponent's roll, you win the contest. The storyteller will then describe the outcome. At times, the storyteller may have the opposition take half. This is a method that speeds up conflict resolution. You take the die pool of the opposition, divide it in half rounding down, and that determines the SPC's number of successes. It's that simple. However, if your contest may cause damage, it becomes a conflict. And while it is handled in the same general way, it requires a bit more clarification. Conflicts are contests, which may result in physical or mental damage. Again, this is all theater of the mind, so we don't have to worry about who goes first and last as much as what everyone does, and at the end of everyone's actions, it's considered a turn. All conflicts should be resolved within 3 turns to prevent getting bogged down in die rolls and game mechanics. At the beginning of a conflict, all participants declare what they will do, and the storyteller decides what the SPCs will do. Then, the die pools are assembled based on the traits used. There's only a single action taken by each participant in a conflict, so if you want to dodge a knife while punching someone, you would use Brawl plus Dexterity, as the SPC may use Melee plus Dexterity. Of course, you can always dodge a brawl or melee attack rather than attack with Dexterity plus Athletics. Ranged weapon attacks are resolved as contests rather than conflicts when only one side has a firearm. You may gang up on an opponent. The defender of multiple attackers reduces their die pool by 1 for each attacker in turn. If you wish to attack multiple opponents, you will split your die pool in half and roll half for one opponent and half for the other. Whoever has the most successes after rolling wins the conflict and applies damage per the weapon or discipline and their margin of victory to either willpower or health. So, if you have a margin of 2, you would add 2 to the damage done. We should also discuss types of damage in the Storyteller system. The first type is superficial damage. These are bruises, sprains, and the like. Kicks and fists, for example, cause superficial damage to humans and vampires. The second type of damage is aggravated damage. This causes broken bones, wounds, and life-threatening injuries. Knives and firearms cause aggravated damage to humans. Only fire, sunlight, or supernatural attacks cause aggravated damage to vampires. You track the type of damage taken by taking half of any superficial damage, round it up, and mark a slash on the character sheet in health or willpower. You take full aggravated damage and mark it with an X. If you fill your tracker, you become impaired and lose 2 die from dice pools. Health affects physical, while willpower affects social and mental. SPCs may become incapacitated. Further damage while impaired results in superficial damage becoming aggravated, changing slashes to X's. When your health tracker is filled with aggravated damage, you are comatose or dead as humans, and you fall into a torpor as a vampire. Your willpower tracker being filled with aggravated damages means you are both impaired and break down and lose face. You may lose social standing or be shunned and mocked. Now we have learned the consequences of taking damage. How do you heal damage taken? Well, at the beginning of a session, mortals can remove a number of superficial damage up to their stamina rating from their health tracker. Vampires may make a rouse check per turn to mend superficial damage, depending on their blood potency. To mend aggravated damage, the vampire must wait till the following nightfall, then make 3 rouse checks in addition to the standard rise check upon rising. This removes 1 point of aggravated damage as well as a crippling injury. Only 1 point of aggravated damage may be mended per night. If your hunger rises above 5 due to the rouse check, the vampire will fall into torpor. I'll go into detail in a future video about rouse checks and hunger. For now, know that a rouse check is used for a number of reasons as a vampire, and it takes a single die roll. On a failure, you gain 1 point of hunger. That covers the basic rules of the Storyteller System. I will be returning with another video describing vampire-specific game mechanics like hunger dice, rousing the blood, and blood potency. Thank you for watching today's How to Play Vampire the Masquerade episode. Subscribe and ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to click the like button and comment to let others learn about this How to Play series and this channel. And as always, remember that evil spelled backwards is live, so get out there and be evil.